Hello everyone, welcome to another weekly outlook video. Today I'll be pointing out what we have on the chart from the previous week and what we're expecting on the week to come. Just a very quick breakdown of my expectations on the chart. Nothing much to it. Let's just clean this up a bit. Terrible way to start a YouTube video, but just gonna go with it. On the weekly chart of the dollar, we have this weekly gap that I had as a short-term target, a short-term projected high to reach, which is the previous weekly high. But then I was ultimately expecting to see us reject from this weekly gap to see us start pushing down. In other words, go from internal range liquidity to external range liquidity. This is exactly what I teach and what I trade on the Trade Smart series, moving from the fair value gap to the swing low, or fair value gap to the swing high if we are bullish, right? In this case, I was bearish, so I was expecting us to react from this gap to take it down to the sell side liquidity at this low, the previous weekly low. But we didn't get that because we tapped it on the 4-hour gap right there on Monday. We cleared the highs on Tuesday, but failed to start rejecting lower. We did not get an expansion to the sell side. We didn't get multiple gaps because, as we know, my entry protocols involve two fair value gaps, right? In this case, we actually got one here, but we didn't get a second one to look for an entry to sell. We got a first gap right here between this candlestick's low and that candlestick's high. It's a bit hard to see, but it's right there. We have a gap right there. So we got a first gap, completely disrespected it, made a new high on Thursday, respected this fair value gap to the upside, and currently seeming to respect this new one to the upside. So I guess we'll have to watch and see if the market is willing to give us sells in the coming week, or are we just going to continue higher now that we have closed above the weekly bearish fair value gap. If we continue higher, we have these relative equal highs right here, very clean highs that we could watch as a projected level to target to the upside. You can see it got swept, so we can use this buy side liquidity, but I'm not going to look for buys yet until we close above this volume imbalance right there. So if I see price push up, closes above, giving us a very clear bullish structure, then I could look for a continuation higher. Other than that, I'll still remain bearish. But again, for me to be bearish, I need to see us disrespect old bullish gaps and bullish PD arrays while creating new bearish ones and giving us very strong intention to run down to that sell side liquidity. So if we're expecting lower prices on the dollar, we're obviously expecting higher on euro and higher on pound. I'm expecting bullishness on GBP USD and euro USD. Going to the weekly chart, the euro is still currently seeming to respect the weekly gap. We haven't yet closed below it or anything like that, so we could still watch for an hourly shift to the upside, and we could target that buy side liquidity. GBP USD, we are much weaker on GBP, but we could watch out for this rejection block. This area right here, just need to mark it out so we can see the area that I'm talking about. Highlighted area, we could watch to see if price could come down to it and use it as a rejection for higher prices. Possible, but I'm not sure, right? So none of these have my interest until dollar meets those conditions that I marked out earlier. Now, going to cover the indices, which is ES and NASDAQ, S&P 500 and NASDAQ. But before we go to the indices, I'm going to start off with the commodities, which is gold and silver.
So we have gold. I'm looking at the monthly. I don't really like how gold has been looking It's almost like it knows where it's supposed to be going, but it's indecisive. However, this week was an interesting week for gold because half of the week was going to the upside, and I would prefer silver over gold this week because silver was a bit stronger, so we got even like a stronger candle. But for next week, I expect some type of retracement back into this 4-hour gap, because it hits like an all-time high already. So I'm expecting some type of retracement before it skyrockets again. So it will all depend, I think, on dollar. But gold has it's a mind of its own. So whether the dollar decides to sell off or not, it would still do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. Or if Trump says something, it will still do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. So I expect it to retrace a bit into this part over here. I don't know how to show that. I expect it to come up till here. Yeah, whatever. I expect it to come up till here. And then from here, it didn't make an all-time high, right? Yeah, it didn't. But I expect it to come up till here, and then from there start running higher. So I think starting from Wednesday, I'll be looking into buying gold. I'll watch it on Monday to see how it reacts and to see how dollar reacts too. But yeah, I don't really like how weak the candle becomes, but I think that's what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Now moving on to the indices, starting off with NASDAQ, I want to start firstly with the monthly time frame just to see where we are, and we can see that from the previous range here, we rejected from the 50% of the range, but this is a very old range. It doesn't really matter now, it's insignificant in my opinion. And based on this monthly time frame, we might have a very small month, right? We might have a very choppy month. I don't really favor trading at all-time highs, firstly. Secondly, we can have a small range this month, just so that next month we can have this fair value gap here being created. And that, in my opinion, could be a short-term target to firstly sell into the gap, but mostly or mainly look to buy out of the gap, right? So it's going to be an internal to external ranged move kind of situation. So just marking out the liquidity sweep that happened down there. Possible gap forming here. We'd have to wait for 15 days to see if this gap forms or not. So many things can happen between now and then, but in the meantime, on the weekly time frame, we do have this fair value gap created last week. We failed to tap into it. Well, it was done the week before. Now in this previous week that just closed, we failed to tap into it. Very small range week, very small range days, very weak market, but also makes sense. All-time high, so you could mainly look for intraday scalps and opportunities like that. So right now I'm looking to see if price can fall down into this firstly, then we could look to buy from there. All right, so if we see a more bearish structure intraday, or a weaker market with some sort of SMT confirmed on a Let's go firstly back to the weekly chart, then mark out that fair value gap. If we go back to the 15 minutes, right, intraday, or intra-week, we have something like some sort of SMT where one fails to take the high and the other one takes the high, displacement below, clear bearish structure. I would then be looking to see if we can sell into this weekly gap or that sell side liquidity. That's an example of an idea for something that's intraday. Personally, just gonna watch and see. Not liking this range. It's a very messy chop, so not going to entertain it in the meantime. The same is gonna have to go for the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame. We have created the same gap. We failed to tap in it. On Russell, we still have room to run to the upside. Let's see if we can wipe all of this at once. So many alerts from the previous preset. Anyway, so yeah, same gap situation here, but very different structure. Still bullish in my opinion. Watching for those equal highs there next. On the daily, it's a little bit clearer. You can see equal highs there, and as ICT has said, equal highs are meant to be made, smooth highs are meant to be made jagged. So something to watch out for when we are bullish or when we're looking for buys. Probably should consider taking your buys on something like Russell. On YM, we are trading at all-time highs. Oh, actually not really, but we are now creating equal highs with the all-time highs, so that's a very juicy liquidity to target for when it's time to start looking for buys. So this is actually a clearer plan for me than NASDAQ and ES right now. We have two fair value gaps here on YM, right? So we have this fair value gap right here. It's a small one right there. The price could dip into. On the weekly, I'll look for a 4-hour shift and I'll look for an intraday buy till we take it to the all-time high. If we don't get that tap, then I'm definitely gonna be looking for this lower gap, the bigger one, the very clear looking one right here. We tap into it, 4-hour shift to the upside, and then intraday buys all the way till we take the all-time highs. So that's just what I'm looking for on the indices. Yeah, for now that's it. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask in the comment section below. I will be responding to every single message, every single request, every single question, probably till the end of the year on this video. But yeah, for now, take care, good luck, and as always, good trading.